Everything you learned about American independence is probably wrong. The Boston Tea Party wasn't about tea. The Founding Fathers weren't all heroes. And taxation without representation? That was just the surface. Let me take you back to the beginning and show you the complete story. Every moment. Every battle. Every betrayal. This is the full truth. Picture this. You're a colonist in Boston. It's cold. Your family is starving. British soldiers are living in your house. You have no choice about it. They eat your food. They sleep in your beds. And if you complain, you might disappear. This wasn't just about money. This was about dignity. About being human. But how did we get here? Let's go back. All the way back. 1754, the French and Indian War begins. It's not really about Indians. It's about empires. Britain versus France. Fighting for control of North America. The colonists get dragged in. They fight. They die. They spend money. 7 years of war. George Washington is there. Young. Ambitious. He fights for Britain. He's loyal. Most colonists are. They're British subjects. Proud of it. They help Britain win. And Britain does win. 1763, the Treaty of Paris. France is defeated. Britain gets Canada. Gets all land east of the Mississippi. Massive victory. But it costs a fortune. Britain is drowning in debt. War debt. And they look at the colonies and think, you know what? They should pay for this. After all, we were protecting them. But here's what London didn't understand. These weren't British people anymore. Not really. They'd been in America for generations. They'd built farms with their bare hands. They'd survived winters that killed half their villages. They'd fought Native Americans. They'd created businesses. They'd made lives. And they did it mostly alone. Britain wasn't there. Britain didn't care. Until now. Now Britain wanted money. Lots of it. October 1763. King George III issues the Proclamation of 1763. No colonists can settle west of the Appalachian Mountains. That's Native American land. Britain wants to avoid conflicts. Sounds reasonable. But the colonists see it differently. They just fought a war. They won land. Now they can't use it. They ignore the proclamation. They cross the mountains anyway. Britain can't stop them. Too far. Too many colonists. Too much wilderness. The proclamation fails. But it plants a seed. Britain gives orders. Colonists ignore them. That pattern will repeat. 1764, the Sugar Act. Britain taxes sugar, molasses, and other goods. The colonists complain. Loudly. But they pay. They grumble. They protest. But they pay. It's not enough to rebel over. Not yet. Britain sees this as success. They can tax the colonies. The colonists will accept it. Wrong. They're underestimating American anger. Badly. 1765, the Stamp Act. This is different. Every piece of paper gets taxed. Newspapers. Legal documents. Playing cards. Dice. Diplomas. Marriage licenses. Everything. And here's the key. The tax is paid with special stamps. Visible. Obvious. In your face. Every time you look at a document, you see British control. You see the tax. You feel it. The colonists lose their minds. Not because of the money. Because nobody asked them. Think about that. You work hard. You build something. Then someone across the ocean you've never met tells you to pay up. How would you feel? The protests explode. Sons of Liberty form. Secret societies. Organized resistance. They target stamp distributors. Intimidate them. Threaten them. Some distributors are tarred and feathered. Covered in hot tar. Then feathers. Left humiliated. Injured. Scared. Most resign. The Stamp Act can't be enforced. No distributors means no stamps. No stamps means no tax. Civil disobedience works. The colonists learned this lesson well. August 1765. Boston. A mob hangs an effigy of the stamp distributor from a tree. The Liberty Tree. They burn his office. They destroy his house. The distributor, Andrew Oliver, resigns the next day. Other colonies follow Boston's lead. Riots. Protests. Boycotts. Colonial assemblies pass resolutions. Virginia's House of Burgesses. Patrick Henry speaks. Give me liberty or give me death. That comes later. But the passion is already there. The anger is real. The colonies are united in opposition. For the first time. That unity scares Britain. It should. October 1765. The Stamp Act Congress meets in New York. 9 colonies send delegates. They write a declaration of rights and grievances. Polite. Respectful. But firm. No taxation without representation. That phrase. It captures everything. We're British subjects. We have rights. One right is representation. Parliament doesn't represent us. Therefore Parliament can't tax us. Simple logic. Revolutionary implications. March 1766. Britain blinks. They repeal the Stamp Act. The colonists celebrate. They won. They stood up to the empire. And the empire backed down. Massive victory. Right? Wrong. The same day Britain repeals the Stamp Act, they pass the Declaratory Act. It says Britain can make any law for the colonies they want. Any law. Any time. The colonists just traded one master for another. And they knew it. But most ignore it. They're too busy celebrating. Britain is counting on that. Short memories. They're wrong again. 1767, the Townshend Acts. Named after Charles Townshend, British politician. More taxes. On glass. On lead. On paint. On paper. On tea. But here's the trick. These are import duties. Collected at ports. Not direct taxes like the Stamp Act. Britain thinks this will be more acceptable. It's not. The colonists see through it. A tax is a tax. They boycott British goods. They make their own stuff. They wear homespun clothes instead of British imports. Women spin thread. Weave cloth. It becomes patriotic. Daughters of Liberty. Women organizing. Resisting. Britain hates it. The boycotts hurt. British merchants lose money. They pressure Parliament. But Parliament won't back down. Not this time. They're going to teach the colonies a lesson. 1768, Britain sends troops. To Boston. To New York. 4,000 soldiers. To keep order. To intimidate. To control. These soldiers need places to stay. The Quartering Act says colonists have to provide lodging. Not necessarily in private homes. But in practice? In private homes. Imagine that. Strange men with guns. In your house. With your wife. Your daughters. Your children. Eating your food. Drinking your rum. Using your fireplace. And you can't say no. This is your life now. The colonists are furious. Violated. Humiliated. This isn't about money anymore. This is personal. The soldiers patrol the streets. They enforce British law. They harass colonists. Especially Sons of Liberty. Fights break out. Insults fly. Tensions rise. Every day brings new incidents. New grievances. Boston becomes a powder keg. Everyone knows something will explode. It's just a matter of when. March 5, 1770. The Boston Massacre. It starts small. A colonist argues with a British soldier. Over a bill. The soldier hit him. The colonist complains. More colonists gather. Then more soldiers. Insults. Threats. Someone throws a snowball. Then another. Rocks mixed in. The soldiers are surrounded. Scared. Someone yells fire. Nobody knows who. Maybe nobody. The soldiers fire. Into the crowd. 11 colonists are hit. 5 die. Crispus Attucks. First to die. He's black. Part Native American. A sailor. A dock worker. He's at the front. The British shoot him first. 5 bullets. He dies instantly. The very first casualty of American independence. A man of color. History will forget him. Then remember him. Then argue about him. But that night, he's just dead. Bleeding in the snow. The other dead are Samuel Gray. Samuel Maverick. James Caldwell. Patrick Carr, regular men. Workers. Americans. The soldiers are arrested. Charged with murder. The colonists want justice. Want revenge. The trial will be complicated. Controversial. Revolutionary. Here's something they never tell you. John Adams defends the soldiers. Yeah, that John Adams. Future president. Future revolutionary. He believes in law. In justice. Even for the enemy. Most lawyers refuse the case. Too unpopular. Too dangerous. Adams takes it. He believes everyone deserves a defense. Even British soldiers who killed Americans. He argues self-defense. The soldiers were provoked. Surrounded. Threatened. The jury agrees. Mostly. 2 soldiers are convicted of manslaughter. Branded on the thumb. Released. The others are acquitted. The colonists are furious. But Adams doesn't care. He has principles. Real ones. Not the convenient kind. That's the complexity they don't teach. History isn't simple. People aren't simple. After the massacre, Britain backs down. Again. They repeal most Townshend duties. Except tea. They keep the tea tax. To make a point. Parliament has the right to tax. They won't surrender that principle. The colonists accept this. Mostly. Things quiet down for a bit. But the tension is there. Like a rope pulled tight. Everyone's waiting. 3 years pass. Relative peace. Uneasy peace. Then Britain makes another mistake. May 1773. The Tea Act. Britain gives the East India Company a monopoly on tea sales in America. Not higher taxes. Lower taxes actually. The tea will be cheaper. But only one company can sell it. The colonists see this clearly. Today tea. Tomorrow everything. This is about control. Total control. Britain is trying to save the East India Company. It's failing. Bankrupt. Britain bails it out. Using the colonies as the market. The colonies as the solution. The colonists aren't stupid. They know what's happening. They refuse to accept it. The tea ships arrive. In Boston. In New York. In Philadelphia. In Charleston. New York and Philadelphia send them back. Charleston stores the tea in warehouses. It rots. Nobody buys it. Boston is different. Governor Hutchinson refuses to send the ships back. He's stubborn. Loyal to Britain. He demands the tea be unloaded. The colonists refuse. Standoff. 20 days. Then someone makes a decision. December 16, 1773. The Boston Tea Party. Around 100 men. Maybe more. They disguise themselves. Some as Mohawk Indians. Dark faces. Feathers. Blankets. It's disrespectful. Appropriating native identity. But it serves a purpose. Anonymity. Deniability. They board 3 ships. The Dartmouth. The Eleanor. The Beaver. They work efficiently. Organized. Disciplined. They break open 342 chests of tea. Dump them into the harbor. Thousands of pounds of tea. Worth a fortune. Today's value? Over $1 million. Gone. Into the water. They work for 3 hours. Nobody stops them. The crowd watches. Silent. Supportive. Some help. When they finish, they sweep the decks. They replace a broken padlock. They're making a point. Not criminals. Patriots. Protesters. Making a statement. About control. About rights. About respect. Britain doesn't see it that way. Britain sees destruction of property. Sees crime. Sees rebellion. And Britain decides to crush it. March 1774. Britain responds. The coercive acts. Americans call them the intolerable acts. 4 laws. Punishment. Revenge. Control. First, the Boston Port Act. Boston Harbor closes. Completely. No ships in. No ships out. Until Boston pays for the tea. The economy dies overnight. People starve. Jobs disappear. Businesses fail. Boston suffers. That's the point. Second, the Massachusetts Government Act. No more town meetings without permission. The governor now appoints all officials. No more elections. Democracy suspended. Third, the Administration of Justice Act. British officials accused of crimes can be tried in Britain. Not in colonial courts. The colonists call it the Murder Act. Soldiers can kill with impunity. Fourth, a new quartering act. More soldiers. More occupation. More control. Massachusetts is under military rule. One colony punished. The others watching. The message is clear. Obey or else. But here's what Britain didn't expect. The other colonies don't abandon Massachusetts. They send food. They send supplies. They send support. Rice from South Carolina. Wheat from Pennsylvania. Flour from Maryland. Fish from Connecticut. Georgia to Massachusetts. They're becoming something new. Something united. Something dangerous to Britain. The colonies start calling themselves American. Not British American. Just American. Identity is shifting. Loyalty is changing. Revolution is brewing. September 5, 1774. The First Continental Congress. 56 delegates from 12 colonies. Georgia doesn't send anyone. But the others do. They meet in Philadelphia. In Carpenter's Hall. They're not talking about independence yet. Most still hope for reconciliation. They're talking about rights. About fairness. About being treated like Englishmen. That's all they want. To be respected. To be heard. To be equal. They debate for 7 weeks. Different opinions. Different solutions. But they agree on basics. Parliament has no right to tax them. Parliament has no right to govern them. Only their own colonial assemblies can do that. They write petitions. To the King. To Parliament. To the British people. They organize a boycott. No British goods. They create the Continental Association. To enforce the boycott. They agree to meet again if Britain doesn't respond positively. Then they go home. And wait. The King receives their petition. October 1774. He ignores it. Completely ignores it. Doesn't respond. Doesn't negotiate. Just silence. That silence speaks volumes. The colonists don't matter. Their voices don't matter. They never mattered. The message is received. Loud and clear. Reconciliation is impossible. Britain won't bend. Won't compromise. Won't listen. The colonists have a choice. Submit or resist. More and more choose resistance. Britain makes plans. General Thomas Gage commands British forces in America. He's based in Boston. He hears reports. The colonists are gathering weapons. Storing gunpowder. Training militias. Preparing for war. Gage receives orders. Seize the weapons. Arrest the leaders. Particularly Sam Adams and John Hancock. Radical agitators. Troublemakers. Traitors. Gage plans a raid. Concord. That's where the weapons are stored. He'll send troops. At night. Quick raid. Seize the weapons. Back before dawn. Simple. Easy. Secret. Except it's not secret. The colonists have spies. Intelligence networks. They know. They're ready. April 18, 1775. Night. British soldiers assemble. 700 men. Redcoats. Professional soldiers. They march out of Boston. Quietly. Trying to be stealthy. They're not. Colonists spot them immediately. The alarm goes out. Paul Revere rides. William Dawes rides. Samuel Prescott rides. Dozens of riders nobody remembers. Spreading the word. The British are coming. Actually, Revere never said that. He said the regulars are coming out. Less poetic. But accurate. The message spreads. Church bells ring. Signal guns fire. Militia members wake up. Grab muskets. Head to town greens. By the time the British reach Lexington, the Americans are waiting. April 19, 1775. Dawn. Lexington Green. 77 militiamen. Farmers. Shopkeepers. Blacksmiths. Regular people with old muskets. Facing 700 professional British soldiers. Captain John Parker commands the militia. He gives an order. Stand your ground. Don't fire unless fired upon. But if they mean to have a war, let it begin here. Heavy words. Revolutionary words. The British arrive. Major Pitcairn commands them. He orders the militia to disperse. To go home. Some do. Some don't. Tension. Confusion. Then a shot. Nobody knows who fired. Might have been a colonist. Might have been a British soldier. Might have been someone in a building. Nobody knows. But everyone hears it. Then everyone fires. The British soldiers fire a volley. Then another. 8 militiamen die. 10 are wounded. The British march on. To Concord. They've started something. Something they can't stop. The British reach Concord. They search for weapons. They find some. Not much. Most have been moved. They destroy what they find. Burn some supplies. The militiamen watch from across the North Bridge. Getting angry. They see the smoke. They think the British are burning the town. They advance. The British fire. The colonists fire back. This time they mean it. 2 British soldiers fall. Dead. The first British casualties. The British retreat. Back across the bridge. This is guerrilla warfare now. The colonists know the terrain. They use it. They hide behind trees. Behind stone walls. Behind buildings. They shoot. Reload. Shoot again. The British march back to Boston. It's a gauntlet. A nightmare. Colonists appear everywhere. Shooting. Disappearing. Shooting again. The British can't fight back effectively. Can't see the enemy. Can't defend properly. They're being hunted. By the time they reach Boston, they've lost almost 300 men. Dead or wounded. The Americans lose about 90. A clear victory. More than that. A revelation. Americans can fight. Can win. The British aren't invincible. That knowledge changes everything. News spreads. Fast. Within days, every colony knows. War has begun. But what kind of war? Still hoping for peace. Still loyal to the king. Blaming Parliament. Blaming bad advisors. Not the king. Never the king. That will change. But not yet. May 10, 1775. The Second Continental Congress meets. Again in Philadelphia. This time they can't avoid it. They're at war. They need an army. They need a commander. They create the Continental Army. June 14, 1775. Official birthday of the United States Army. They pick George Washington as commander. A Virginian. Important. This shows it's not just New England's fight. It's all the colonies. Washington is 43. Wealthy planter. Slave owner. Not a military genius. But solid. Experienced. Respected. Most importantly, he won't quit. That matters more than genius. Perseverance beats talent when talent quits. Washington will prove that. Many times. Before Washington even arrives, another battle happens. June 17, 1775. Bunker Hill. Actually Breed's Hill. But history calls it Bunker Hill. The British plan to take the hills overlooking Boston. Give them better position. The Americans learn about it. They move first. Overnight they build fortifications on Breed's Hill. Earthworks. Redoubts. When the British wake up, the Americans are dug in. The British are shocked. Impressed. Angry. They attack. 2,000 soldiers. Marching uphill. In formation. In bright red coats. Perfect targets. The Americans wait. Don't fire till you see the whites of their eyes. Famous order. Probably never actually said. But good advice. Conserve ammunition. Wait for close range. Make every shot count. The British advance. The Americans fire. Devastating. The British line shatters. Dead and wounded everywhere. The British retreat. Reform. Attack again. Same result. Another volley. More carnage. Second retreat. General Howe is frustrated. His officers are dying. His men are dying. But he orders a third attack. This time it works. Why? The Americans run out of ammunition. They fight with rocks. With gun butts. With bayonets they barely have. But they're overrun. They retreat. The British take the hill. But the cost is staggering. Over 1,000 British casualties. About half their force. The Americans lose about 400. The British won the battle. But the Americans won something more valuable. Confidence. They stood against professional soldiers. They inflicted terrible casualties. They proved they could fight. That psychological victory matters more than the tactical defeat. Washington arrives in Cambridge. July 3, 1775. Takes command. He's shocked. This isn't an army. It's a mob. No uniforms. No discipline. No organization. Men come and go as they please. Officers elected by their men. No respect for rank. No military structure. Chaos. Washington has to build an army from scratch. While fighting a war. It's an impossible task. He does it anyway. Slowly. Painfully. But he does it. The army besieges Boston. Surrounds it. Traps the British inside. But Washington can't attack. Not enough men. Not enough powder. Not enough cannons. So they wait. 4 months. Winter comes. Men suffer. Some desert. Some die from disease. But some stay. The corps stays. Believers. Men who think this matters. Who think freedom is worth freezing for. Worth starving for. Worth dying for. January 1776. Henry Knox arrives. Young bookseller from Boston. Washington sent him to Fort Ticonderoga. To get cannons. Knox went. Found cannons. 60 tons of artillery. Cannon. Mortars. Howitzers. Then he brought them back. 300 miles. In winter. Through snow. Across frozen rivers. Using sledges. Using oxen. Using determination. It takes 2 months. But he does it. He actually does it. Washington now has artillery. Real firepower. He places them on Dorchester Heights. Overlooking Boston. The British wake up March 5, 1776. They see cannons. Lots of cannons. Pointed at them. They have a choice. Attack the heights. Or evacuate. Attacking looks like suicide. They evacuate. March 17, 1776. The British leave Boston. Take loyalists with them. About 1,000 people. Refugees. Leaving everything behind. The British sail to Halifax. Regroup. Plan their next move. Washington has won. Without firing a shot. Boston is free. America is thrilled. Washington is a hero. But the war is just beginning. Meanwhile, Thomas Paine publishes Common Sense. January 1776. 47 pages. Plain language. Simple arguments. Why should an island rule a continent? Why should we bow to a king we've never met? Why should we be subjects when we could be citizens? These questions spread like fire. 500,000 copies sold. In a country of 2.5 million people. Everyone is reading it. Everyone is talking. Talking about independence. That word. That idea. 6 months ago it was radical. Treasonous. Now it's mainstream. Inevitable. Paine changed the conversation. Changed what's possible. That's the power of words. Of ideas. Of the right message at the right time. But let's talk about what they really wanted. Freedom sounds nice. But freedom for who? The founding fathers were mostly rich. They owned land. They owned businesses. Some owned people. Slaves. Hundreds of slaves. George Washington owned over 300. Thomas Jefferson owned over 600. They talked about liberty while denying it to others. That's not hypocrisy calling. That's reality. Humans are complicated. Heroes have flaws. Villains have reasons. History is messy. The southern colonies almost don't join. Why? Slavery. They're terrified of losing it. Some northern delegates want to condemn slavery in the Declaration. The Southerners say no. We'll leave. We'll stay with Britain. So they compromise. They stay silent about slavery. Unity matters more than morality. That silence will cost America 600,000 lives 90 years later. But that's a different story. Here's another truth. Native Americans mostly sided with Britain. Why? The colonists kept taking their land. Britain at least tried to stop it. The Proclamation of 1763. Failed, but attempted. The colonists ignored it. They crossed the mountains. They built farms. They started towns. Britain couldn't enforce the proclamation. Too far. Too many colonists. Too much land. But the Native Americans saw who their real enemy was. The colonists who took everything. Not the British who were far away. The Iroquois Confederacy splits. Some tribes side with Britain. Some with America. Families divide. The war destroys them. Regardless of who wins. That's colonization. That's genocide. That's America's original sin. Still unpaid. Still unresolved. Many black Americans fought for Britain too. Lord Dunmore's Proclamation. November 1775. Virginia's governor promises freedom to slaves who escape and fight for Britain. Thousands respond. They see the contradiction clearly. How can you fight for freedom while owning slaves? So they choose the side that offers them freedom. Can you blame them? The Founding Fathers wrote all men are created equal. But they didn't mean all men. Not really. Not yet. June 7, 1776. Richard Henry Lee proposes independence. Formally. In Congress. Resolved that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states. The debate begins. For and against. Pennsylvania opposes. New York opposes. South Carolina wavers. Delaware is split. They're afraid. This is treason. If they lose, they hang. Every single one of them. Britain will show no mercy. Their families will suffer. Their property seized. Their names erased. This isn't a game. This is life or death. A committee forms to draft a declaration. 5 men. Thomas Jefferson. John Adams. Benjamin Franklin. Roger Sherman. Robert Livingston. They asked Jefferson to write it. He's young. Only 33. But he writes well. Eloquently. He agrees. He goes to his room. 2nd floor. 7th and Market Street. Philadelphia. It's hot. June heat. Flies everywhere. He writes alone. Using a lap desk. His own design. He writes quickly. A few days. He borrows ideas. From John Locke. From George Mason's Virginia Declaration of Rights. From his own previous writings. He's not entirely original. But he writes beautifully. He writes with power. He writes words that will echo through centuries. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Not life, liberty, and property. He changed it. Pursuit of happiness. That's new. That's radical. That's America. June 28, 1776. Jefferson presents his draft. Congress debates. For 3 days. They edit. They cut. They change. Jefferson hates it. He sits there fuming as they butcher his beautiful prose. Franklin comforts him. Tells him a story. About a hat maker. Who had a sign made. With elaborate text. Then everyone edited it. Each person had suggestions. By the end, the sign just said his name. Franklin's point. Editing happens. Get over it. Jefferson doesn't. He keeps lists of what they cut. Compares versions. Sulks. But the edits make it better. Shorter. Stronger. More powerful. They cut his condemnation of slavery. That's the big one. Jefferson blamed King George for slavery. For the slave trade. It's hypocritical. Jefferson owns slaves. But he wrote it anyway. Congress cuts it. Southern delegates refuse to accept it. Some Northern delegates too. Slavery stays. The Declaration stays silent. That compromise haunts America. Still. July 2, 1776. Congress votes on independence. 12 colonies vote yes. New York abstains. Waiting for instructions from home. But it passes. Independence passes. They're free. Officially. John Adams thinks July 2nd will be celebrated forever. He's wrong. They spend 2 more days on the Declaration. Finalizing the text. Getting it perfect. July 4, 1776. They approve the final version. This is the day. This is the moment. They're no longer British. They're Americans. A new nation. Based on an idea. That all men are created equal. That governments derive their power from the consent of the governed. That people have the right to alter or abolish unjust government. Revolutionary ideas. Dangerous ideas. Ideas that will spread across the world. But first, they have to win a war. That's not guaranteed. That's not even likely. The odds are against them. Massively against them. August 1776. The British arrive. In New York. 30,000 soldiers. The largest expeditionary force Britain has ever assembled. Professional soldiers. Hessian mercenaries. Germans hired to fight. Warships. Hundreds of them. Cannons. Supplies. Everything. Admiral Howe commands the fleet. General Howe commands the army. They're brothers. They have overwhelming force. They plan to crush the rebellion quickly. Then go home. Simple. Easy. They're confident. They should be. The Americans don't stand a chance. On paper. August 27, 1776. Battle of Long Island. The British attack. Brilliantly. They outflank Washington. Surround his army. Trap them against the East River. The Americans are doomed. The war should end right here. America dies in infancy. But the Howes don't press their advantage. They wait. They want Washington to surrender. They think the rebels will give up. Huge mistake. Maybe the biggest mistake in British military history. That night, Washington evacuates. Across the East River. 9,000 men. Silently. In the dark. In boats. It takes all night. By dawn, they're gone. The British wake up. The Americans have escaped. Washington just pulled off an incredible retreat. Saved his army. Saved the revolution. But barely. Washington retreats. Across Manhattan. Across New Jersey. Into Pennsylvania. His army is dissolving. Men desert daily. They signed up for a few months. Their time is up. They go home. Harvest season. Family needs them. They're cold. Hungry. Unpaid. Why should they stay? The cause looks hopeless. Washington knows he needs a victory. Any victory. Or there won't be an army left to command. Thomas Paine writes again. The American Crisis. December 1776. These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will in this crisis shrink from the service of their country. But he that stands it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny like hell is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us that the harder the conflict the more glorious the triumph. Washington reads it to his troops. They need to hear it. They need hope. They need a reason to stay. Some do. Not many. But some. December 25, 1776. Christmas night. Washington makes a desperate gamble. He crosses the Delaware River. Going back into New Jersey. Ice everywhere. Storm raging. Freezing rain. Wind. Darkness. 9 miles across. It takes hours. 2,400 men in boats. Silently. Carefully. It's dangerous. Men could drown. Could freeze. Could be spotted. But they make it. All of them. They march to Trenton. 9 miles through snow and ice. Some men have no shoes. They leave bloody footprints. But they march. They reach Trenton at dawn. The Hessians are there. About 1,400 of them. They're sleeping. Some drunk from Christmas celebrations. The Americans attack. Complete surprise. Overwhelming victory. They capture almost 1,000 Hessians. Kill about 20. The Americans lose 2 men. Frozen to death on the march. Not killed in battle. Frozen. That's how cold it was. That's how desperate they were. The victory changes everything. Psychologically. Americans can win. The cause isn't dead. Men start coming back. Re-enlisting. The army rebuilds. Hope returns. Washington isn't done. He crosses again. Attacks Princeton. January 3, 1777. Another victory. Smaller. But important. 2 victories in a week. After months of defeats. The revolution survives the winter. Barely. But it survives. But let's be honest. The Americans are losing. Badly. The British take Philadelphia. September 1777. The capital. Congress flees. To York, Pennsylvania. Humiliating. Embarrassing. The British occupy Philadelphia. Comfortably. They have balls. Parties. Theater. They live well while Washington's army suffers. Where? Valley Forge. 20 miles away. Winter 1777 to 1778. The darkest time. 12,000 men. Living in crude huts. Freezing. Starving. Dying. From cold. From hunger. From disease. Typhus. Dysentery. Pneumonia. About 2,000 die that winter. Never seeing another battle. They just die. In camp. Suffering. Martha Washington comes. General's wife. She nurses the sick. Boosts morale. She's tough. Tougher than most men. Other officers' wives come too. They help. They organize. They save lives. Women saving the revolution while men get the credit. Classic. Baron von Steuben arrives. February 1778. Prussian officer. Experienced. Professional. He volunteers to train the army. Washington accepts. Von Steuben doesn't speak English. Not much. He gives orders in German. Then French. Aides translate to English. It's comical. But it works. He drills them. Every day. 4 hours. March. Formation. Musket drill. Bayonet combat. Professional military movements. The men hate it. It's hard. It's boring. It's repetitive. But they learn. They improve. By spring, they're a different force. Not equal to the British. But competent. Dangerous. Capable. Von Steuben transforms the Continental Army. Makes it professional. Washington is grateful. America is grateful. Von Steuben never asks for payment. He volunteers. Because he believes in the cause. That's commitment. That's sacrifice. The war's turning point comes at Saratoga. Actually 2 battles. September and October 1777. In New York. British plan to split the colonies. Cut New England off from the rest. General Burgoyne leads the Northern Army. Coming down from Canada. He's supposed to meet another British army coming from New York City. Pincer movement. Classic military strategy. But the other army doesn't come. Gets stuck. Burgoyne is alone. Deep in enemy territory. Overextended. Vulnerable. The Americans see the opportunity. General Horatio Gates commands. But the real hero is Benedict Arnold. Yes, that Benedict Arnold. The traitor. But not yet. At Saratoga, he's a hero. Brilliant. Aggressive. Brave. He disobeys orders. Attacks anyway. Gets wounded. Takes a bullet in the leg. The same leg wounded at Quebec. He leads from the front. Inspires his men. The Americans surround Burgoyne. Trap him. 6,000 British soldiers. Professional soldiers. Trapped. No supplies. No hope. No rescue. October 17, 1777. Burgoyne surrenders. The entire army. Britain is shocked. How? How did this happen? Professional soldiers don't surrender to farmers. But they did. They had no choice. The Americans won. Decisively. Completely. Shockingly. News reaches France. King Louis XVI pays attention. France has been watching. Waiting. They hate Britain. Britain humiliated them in the last war. Took Canada. Took India. France wants revenge. But they won't back a losing cause. They need proof Americans can win. Saratoga is that proof. France starts negotiations. Secret negotiations. American commissioners are in Paris. Benjamin Franklin leads them. He's perfect for the job. Charming. Witty. Famous. The French love him. He wears a fur cap. Plays the American rustic. They eat it up. He's actually sophisticated. Educated. Experienced. But he plays the role. For France. For America. For the cause. February 6, 1778. France signs a treaty. The Treaty of Alliance. They're allies now. Officially. This changes everything. French money. French ships. French soldiers. French guns. Most importantly, French legitimacy. This isn't a rebellion anymore. This is a war between nations. A world war. Britain now fights France. And soon Spain. And the Netherlands. Britain's attention divides. Their resources spread thin. America is no longer alone. That's huge. That's potentially decisive. But the war drags on. Years more. More battles. More death. More suffering. June 1778. Battle of Monmouth. New Jersey. Hot day. Brutally hot. Men die from heatstroke. The battle is confused. Back and forth. General Charles Lee commands part of the American army. He orders a retreat. Without consulting Washington. Washington arrives. He's furious. Reportedly curses Lee. Washington rarely curses. But he does here. He rallies the troops. Stops the retreat. Holds the line. The battle ends in a draw. Both sides claim victory. Neither really wins. But the Americans prove something. They can stand toe-to-toe with British regulars. In open battle. Not guerrilla warfare. Not ambushes. Stand-up fight. That matters. That's respect. Even from the enemy. Molly Pitcher becomes famous at Monmouth. Maybe. The story might be legend. Might be real. Probably combination. Women followed the army. Camp followers. Wives. Cooks. Laundresses. Nurses. They weren't supposed to fight. But sometimes they did. Molly Pitcher, the story goes, carried water to soldiers. Pitcher of water. Hence the name. Her husband mans a cannon. He falls. Heat. Or wounded. Or killed. Depends on the version. Molly takes over. Loads the cannon. Fires it. Keeps fighting. Maybe it happened. Maybe it didn't. But women did fight. Did serve. Did sacrifice. History forgets them. Mostly. But they were there. They mattered. The war shifts south. 1778 to 1781, the British think the South has more loyalists. They're partly right. But not enough. Not nearly enough. They capture Savannah. December 1778. Georgia falls. Then Charleston. May 1780. South Carolina's capital. Biggest American city in the South. Major port. Strategic. Important. The British take it. Along with 5,000 American soldiers. The entire Southern Continental Army. Captured. It's a disaster. The worst American defeat of the war. The South looks lost. The British are confident. They think they're winning. They're wrong. The Southern campaign becomes vicious. Brutal. Personal. It's not just British versus Americans. It's neighbor versus neighbor. Families divide. Brother fights brother. Loyalists versus patriots. No mercy. No quarter. Atrocities on both sides. Tarleton's Quarter. British Colonel Banastre Tarleton. Notorious. Cruel. His men massacre Americans trying to surrender. Waxhaws. May 1780. 113 Americans killed. 150 wounded. Many hacked while surrendering. It becomes a rallying cry. Tarleton's Quarter means no quarter. No mercy. The Americans respond in kind. They start hanging loyalists. Burning homes. Taking revenge. It's ugly. It's brutal. It's war at its worst. Nathanael Greene takes command in the South. December 1780. He's Rhode Islander. Quaker background. Though he's kicked out for joining the military. Quakers are pacifists. No fighting. Greene fights. He's brilliant. Strategic genius. He never wins a major battle in the South. Never. But he never loses the war. He retreats. He splits his army. Against all military doctrine. But it works. He wears the British down. Death by 1,000 cuts. The British win battles but lose the campaign. They're exhausted. Overstretched. Bleeding men and money. They can't hold the territory they take. Greene harasses them. Never gives them peace. Never lets them rest. It's brilliant. It's exhausting. It works. The Battle of Cowpens. January 17, 1781. South Carolina. General Daniel Morgan commands. He's a genius at Cowpens. He uses psychology. He knows militia will run. They always do. So he plans for it. He puts militia in front. Tells them fire 2 volleys then retreat. They do. The British think they're winning. They charge. They break formation. Chasing the militia. Then they hit the Continentals. The regulars. Fresh. Organized. Disciplined. The Americans counterattack. The British are surrounded. Destroyed. Complete victory. 110 British killed. 200 wounded. 500 captured. The Americans lose 12 killed. 60 wounded. It's brilliant. It's decisive. It changes the Southern campaign. The British aren't invincible. Greene and Morgan prove it. Then Cornwallis makes a mistake. A big one. He moves his army to Yorktown, Virginia. On the coast. Chesapeake Bay. He thinks the British Navy will support him. Supply him. Evacuate him if needed. He thinks he's safe. He's wrong. Washington sees the opportunity. He's been sitting outside New York for years, watching Clinton's army, unable to attack. Now he sees a chance. A real chance. To win. To end the war. He marches south. Secretly. Quickly. 2,500 Continental soldiers. 4,000 French soldiers. Comte de Rochambeau commands the French. He and Washington work well together. Mutual respect. Shared purpose. They march to Virginia. It takes weeks. But they make it. 450 miles. The British don't realize until too late. Meanwhile, the French Navy arrives. Comte de Grasse commands 28 ships. Heading for Chesapeake Bay. They arrive first. Before the British. September 5, 1781. The Battle of the Chesapeake. Naval battle. The British try to engage. Try to break through. They fail. The French hold the bay. Cornwallis is cut off. By sea. He doesn't know yet. But he's trapped. Washington and Rochambeau arrive. September 28, 1781. With 17,000 men. Continental and French. Combined army. They surround Yorktown. By land. The French control the sea. Cornwallis is trapped. Completely. He realizes it now. Too late. He asks Clinton for help. Clinton promises reinforcements. They're coming. Soon. Hold on. But they don't come. Not in time. Maybe not at all. Cornwallis waits. Hopes. Prays. Nothing. The siege begins. The Allies dig trenches. Move closer. Bring up artillery. Day by day. Night by night. They bombard Yorktown. Constantly. The British can't sleep. Can't rest. Can't escape. On October 14, they assault 2 British redoubts. Fortified positions. Alexander Hamilton leads one assault. American forces. He's Washington's aide. Ambitious. Eager. He begs for field command. Washington finally gives it. Hamilton attacks aggressively. Takes the redoubt. The French take the other. Now the artillery moves even closer. The bombardment intensifies. Yorktown is being destroyed. British soldiers are dying. From cannon fire. From disease. From despair. Cornwallis tries to escape. Across the York River. At night. A storm stops him. Even the weather is against him. October 17, 1781. Cornwallis asks for terms. Surrender terms. The Allies agree. October 19. The formal surrender. Over 7,000 British soldiers. Lay down their weapons. March out. Between the French and American armies. They're humiliated. Defeated. The British band plays The World Turned Upside Down. Appropriate. The world has turned upside down. The colonists beat the empire. Farmers beat professional soldiers. Democracy beat monarchy. Liberty beat tyranny. It shouldn't have happened. But it did. Cornwallis doesn't attend. He claims illness. Sends a subordinate. He's embarrassed. Ashamed. He should be. He made mistakes. Got trapped. Lost. The war isn't officially over. But it's over. Everyone knows it. Britain has no will to continue. The cost is too high. The support at home is gone. Parliament turns against the war. King George wants to fight on. But he can't. Not alone. Not without support. Britain sues for peace. Negotiations begin. Why did America win? Not because they were better fighters. The British were better trained. Better equipped. Better organized. Not because they had better generals. Some American generals were good. Some were terrible. The British had excellent generals too. America won because they wouldn't quit. That's the secret. Perseverance. Stubbornness. Refusing to accept defeat. They lost most battles. They retreated constantly. They suffered horribly. But they kept going. And Britain got tired. They had other problems. Other enemies. Other wars. France was the main enemy. Spain too. The Netherlands. 3 European powers against Britain. America wasn't worth it anymore. So Britain left. Gave up. Went home. America won. Against all odds. Against all reason. Against all expectation. They won. September 3, 1783. The Treaty of Paris. Signed in Paris. Benjamin Franklin negotiates for America. John Adams. John Jay. They negotiate brilliantly. Britain recognizes American independence. Officially. The United States of America exists. Really exists. Internationally recognized. Legitimate. Britain gives America all land east of the Mississippi River. Except Florida. That goes to Spain. Massive territory. Room to grow. Room to expand. Room to become something great. Maybe. If they can hold it together. That's not guaranteed. The treaty is generous. Surprisingly generous. Britain wants to split America from France. Make America friendly. Make them a trading partner. So they give good terms. Fishing rights. Border agreements. Debt settlements. The Americans are happy. Thrilled. They won everything. Independence. Territory. Respect. Future. It's more than they dreamed. More than they hoped. They've created something new. Something unprecedented. Something fragile. A republic. Based on ideas. Based on consent. Based on liberty. At least in theory. Reality is messier. The army disbands. Slowly. Reluctantly. Soldiers go home. If they have homes. Some don't. Some lost everything during the war. Farms destroyed. Businesses ruined. Families dead or scattered. They sacrificed everything. For victory. For freedom. For country. What do they get? Nothing. They weren't paid. Congress has no money. The states won't provide it. Officers and men are furious. They talk about marching on Congress. Taking what they're owed. Mutiny. Revolution. Against the revolution. Washington stops it. He speaks to them. Pleads with them. Stay loyal. Stay disciplined. Honor your oaths. Trust that justice will come. Eventually. Some believe him. Some don't. But they disband. They go home. Angry. Betrayed. But they go. That's discipline. That's honor. That's sacrifice. December 23, 1783. Washington resigns. Officially. Publicly. He appears before Congress. In Annapolis, Maryland. Congress meets there now. Temporary capital. Washington gives a speech. Emotional. He thanks them. Thanks the army. Thanks his staff. Thanks God. Then he resigns his commission. Gives up power. Voluntarily. Congress is shocked. The world is shocked. Generals don't do this. They seize power. They become dictators. They become kings. Not Washington. He goes home. To Mount Vernon. To his farm. To his wife. He's done. He's 41 years old. He could rule. Could be king. People would support it. Officers offered it. He said no. That decision echoes through history. That's character. That's principle. That's why he's the father of the country. Not because he won battles. Because he walked away from power. When he didn't have to. That's revolutionary. That's American. But the country is a mess. The war is over but problems remain. Huge problems. The Articles of Confederation govern. Weak government. Very weak. No power to tax. No power to regulate trade. No power to enforce laws. Congress can ask. Can beg. Can plead. But can't force. The states ignore Congress. They fight each other. Trade wars. Border disputes. Currency chaos. Each state prints its own money. None of it worth anything. Inflation is rampant. Debt is crushing. People are suffering. The economy is terrible. Worse than during the war. Veterans are angry. Farmers are angry. Merchants are angry. Everyone is angry. Something has to change. Or the country will fall apart. Before it really begins. After the war, soldiers struggled. No jobs. No money. Many were disabled. Missing limbs. Blind. Scarred. Shell-shocked. PTSD wasn't a term yet. But the condition existed. Men who couldn't adjust. Who couldn't forget. Who woke up screaming. Who drank to forget. Who couldn't hold their families. Who couldn't work. Who couldn't function. Heroes became beggars. Veterans became problems. Society moved on. They couldn't. That's war. Any war. Every war. Shays' Rebellion. 1786, Massachusetts. Revolutionary War veterans. Farmers. They're drowning in debt. The state wants to collect taxes. Foreclose on farms. These men fought for independence. Now they're losing everything. So they rebel. Again. Against their own government. This time. Daniel Shays leads them. He was a captain in the Continental Army. Fought at Bunker Hill. Saratoga. Stony Point. War hero. Now revolutionary. Against the revolution. The irony is thick. The pain is real. They march on courthouses. Stop foreclosures. Threaten judges. The state panics. The governor calls up the militia. 4,000 men. They march to Springfield. Shays has about 1,500. They plan to seize the federal arsenal. Get weapons. The militia arrives first. They fire warning shots. Shays' men keep coming. The militia fires directly into the crowd. 4 men die. The rest flee. The rebellion collapses. Some rebels are captured, tried, sentenced to death. Most are pardoned, including Shays. He flees to Vermont. Returns later. Pardoned. Dies old and poor. His rebellion fails. But it succeeds in one way. It scares the founders. Terrifies them. What if it spreads? What if the whole system collapses? That's why they wrote the Constitution. Not just for theory. For survival. They needed a stronger government. One that could suppress rebellions. Collect taxes. Enforce laws. Maintain order. Liberty is great. But order comes first. That's the hierarchy. That's the priority. That's the reality. May 25, 1787. The Constitutional Convention. Philadelphia. Again. Same city where they declared independence. Where they formed Congress. Where they created America. Now they're going to remake it. 55 delegates from 12 states. Rhode Island doesn't send anyone. They don't trust this. They're right to be suspicious. The delegates are supposed to revise the Articles of Confederation. Make them better. Stronger. That's the official purpose. That's the mandate. They ignore it. Completely. They throw out the articles. Start over. Write something completely new. A constitution. A completely different government. It's technically illegal. Definitely beyond their authority. They do it anyway. In secret. They lock the doors. Close the windows. Guard the entrances. No leaks. No press. No public. Just them. Debating. Arguing. Compromising. For 4 months. In summer. In Philadelphia. It's hot. Miserable. They sweat. They argue. They almost quit. Multiple times. But they keep going. George Washington presides. He doesn't say much. Just sits there. Dignified. Respected. His presence matters. If Washington supports it, others will too. Benjamin Franklin is there. Oldest delegate. 81. In pain. Carried in a sedan chair. But his mind is sharp. He mediates. He compromises. He smooths conflicts. James Madison drives the content. He's prepared. He studied. He has a plan. The Virginia Plan. Strong central government. 3 branches. Checks and balances. Madison takes notes. Detailed notes. Every day. We know what happened because of Madison's notes. Without them, we wouldn't know. He's the father of the Constitution. Not because he wrote all of it. Because he shaped it. Guided it. Made it work. The big fight is representation. How do you count states? By population? That favors big states. Equally. That favors small states. The debate is fierce. The small states threaten to leave. The big states won't back down. They're deadlocked. Then the Connecticut Compromise. 2 houses. Senate, equal representation. 2 senators per state. House, proportional representation. Based on population. Everyone gets something. Everyone gives something. It works. Barely. But it works. The other big fight is slavery. Always slavery. Do slaves count for representation? The South says yes. More representation means more power. The North says no. They're not citizens. They're property. You don't count property for representation. The debate is ugly. The compromise is uglier. 3/5 compromise. Each slave counts as 3/5 of a person. For representation. And for taxes. It's horrible. It's wrong. It's degrading. It's racist. But it passes. Without it, no union. The South won't join. And there's more. The Constitution protects the slave trade. For 20 years. Until 1808. Congress can't ban it before then. And fugitive slaves must be returned. Even if they escape to free states. The Constitution protects slavery. Enshrines it. Legitimizes it. That's America's original sin. Written into the founding document. September 17, 1787. They finish. 39 delegates sign. 13 don't. Some left early. Some refuse to sign. George Mason refuses. Elbridge Gerry refuses. Edmund Randolph refuses. They have objections. No Bill of Rights. Too much power to central government. But 39 sign. Including Washington. Including Franklin. Franklin speaks at the end. I confess there are several parts of this Constitution which I do not at present approve. But I am not sure I shall never approve them. The older I grow the more apt I am to doubt my own judgment. He supports it. Despite doubts. Despite concerns. Because something is better than nothing. Unity is better than chaos. The Constitution goes to the states. For ratification. 9 states must approve. That's the requirement. Now the real fight begins. The ratification debates are fierce. Heated. Public. Federalists support the Constitution. Anti-Federalists oppose it. Both sides publish pamphlets. Write essays. Give speeches. The Federalist Papers. 85 essays. Hamilton writes most. Madison writes some. John Jay writes a few. They argue for ratification. Brilliantly. These essays are masterpieces. Political philosophy. Constitutional theory. Practical governance. They're still read. Still studied. Still relevant. The Anti-Federalists write too. Essays. Letters. Pamphlets. They fear tyranny. Fear centralized power. They want protection. Want guarantees. Want a Bill of Rights. The Federalists promise to add one. After ratification. Trust us, they say. The Anti-Federalists don't. But they have little choice. Delaware ratifies first. December 7, 1787. Unanimous. Pennsylvania next. Then New Jersey. Georgia. Connecticut. Massachusetts barely passes. 187 to 168, very close. Maryland ratifies. South Carolina. 8 states. 1 more needed. New Hampshire is close. They debate. They delay. Then they ratify. June 21, 1788. 9th state. The Constitution is law. Officially. But Virginia and New York haven't voted yet. Without them, the Constitution is meaningless. Virginia is the largest state. New York is strategically vital. Both must join. Or the Constitution fails. Practically fails. Virginia debates for weeks. Patrick Henry leads opposition. Give me liberty or give me death. That Patrick Henry. He hates the Constitution. Argues against it. Passionately. Eloquently. For days. Madison and Edmund Randolph argue for it. It's close. Very close. June 25, 1788. Virginia ratifies. 89 to 79, 10 votes. That's all. 10 votes between ratification and rejection. Between success and failure. Madison barely wins. Barely. But he wins. New York is even closer. Hamilton leads the Federalists. George Clinton leads the Anti-Federalists. The debate is brutal. Personal. Nasty. New York doesn't want to join. But Virginia has ratified. If New York doesn't, they're isolated. Surrounded by the United States. Economically cut off. Politically alone. They have no choice. Not really. July 26, 1788. New York ratifies. 30 to 27, 3 votes. 3 votes. That's how close. That's how fragile. The Constitution survives. By 3 votes. America survives. By 3 votes. North Carolina doesn't ratify. Not yet. They want a Bill of Rights first. Rhode Island refuses to even vote. They're stubborn. Independent. Skeptical. They'll join later. Under pressure. Under threat. But for now, 11 states are enough. The Constitution is ratified. The government can begin. Elections are held. Washington is elected president. Unanimously. Nobody else is considered. John Adams becomes vice president. The new government starts. March 4, 1789. But Washington isn't inaugurated until April 30. New York City. The temporary capital. Washington takes the oath. On a Bible. On the balcony of Federal Hall. Crowds watch. Cheer. Celebrate. America has a president. A real government. A future. Maybe. But the Anti-Federalists won something. They forced the Federalists to promise amendments. A Bill of Rights. Madison leads the effort. He doesn't want to. He thinks it's unnecessary. The Constitution already protects rights. But he promised. So he delivers. He proposes 12 amendments. Congress passes them. September 25, 1789. They go to the states. For ratification. 10 are ratified. December 15, 1791. The Bill of Rights. Part of the Constitution. Forever. Freedom of speech. Freedom of religion. Freedom of press. Right to bear arms. Protection against unreasonable search. Right to trial. All the rights they wanted from Britain. Now guaranteed. In writing. Forever. Supposedly. Those rights will be tested. Violated. Defended. Expanded. They're not perfect. They don't apply to everyone. Not yet. But they're there. They're real. They're American. The Whiskey Rebellion. 1794, Western Pennsylvania. Farmers are angry. The government is taxing whiskey. Hamilton's tax. Revenue. To pay debts. To fund government. But the farmers are furious. They fought a revolution over taxes. Now their own government is taxing them. The irony. The anger. They rebel. They attack tax collectors. Tar and feather them. Burn their homes. The rebellion spreads. Washington decides to act. He calls up the militia. 13,000 men. He leads them personally. The President. Leading an army. Against American citizens. For not paying taxes. The revolution comes full circle. The rebels see the army coming. They flee. No battle. No bloodshed. Just intimidation. Show of force. Washington proves the government can enforce laws. Can collect taxes. Can suppress rebellion. The United States is real. It has power. It will use it. Message sent. Message received. Some rebels are captured. Tried. 2 are convicted of treason. Washington pardons them both. Mercy. Restraint. But the message stands. The government will enforce the law. Even with force. And Hamilton versus Jefferson. The original political divide. Hamilton wants strong central government. National bank. Federal power. Manufacturing. Cities. Commerce. Northern interests. Jefferson wants states' rights. Agrarian society. Farmers. Rural life. Limited government. Southern and Western interests. They hate each other. Deeply. Personally. Their followers hate each other. Political parties form. Wasn't supposed to happen. Washington hates parties. Factions. Warned against them in his farewell address. But they form anyway. Federalists versus Democratic Republicans. Hamilton versus Jefferson. The arguments from the 1790s echo today. Federal power versus states' rights. Urban versus rural. Industry versus agriculture. Same fault lines. Different names. America has always been divided. Always arguing. Always in tension. Maybe that's not a bug. Maybe it's a feature. Maybe democracy requires disagreement. Requires debate. Requires different visions competing. Peacefully. Mostly peacefully. Sometimes violently. But continuing. Always continuing. North Carolina finally ratifies the Constitution. November 21, 1789. They got their Bill of Rights. Now they join. Rhode Island is last. May 29, 1790. 2 years late. They join under threat. Economic isolation. No trade agreements. No protection. They cave. That's unity through coercion. Not inspiring. But effective. All 13 original states are now united. The United States is complete. 13 stars. 13 stripes. One nation. Fragile. Uncertain. Controversial. But real. Existing. Growing. The conversation never ends. That's independence. That's freedom. That's America. Messy. Loud. Chaotic. Alive. Real. Human. Forever incomplete. Forever becoming. Forever arguing about what it means to be free. That's the full story. From 1763 to 1791. Every major moment. Every important battle. Every crucial decision. This is how America became America. Not through destiny. Not through divine providence. Through struggle. Through compromise. Through sacrifice. Through blood. Through suffering. Through perseverance. Through refusal to quit. That's the truth. The whole truth. Nothing but the truth. This is American independence. Complete. Unfiltered. Unromanticized. Real.